And I'm joined now by Liberal leader Malcolm Turnbull. Malcolm Turnbull, if we can just clear up, there has been a bit of confusion today about whether the party meeting's Monday or Tuesday. I think those seeking the spill have asked for Monday. You've settled on Tuesday.
It's Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock.
Does that mean that it's possible that the Senate could be brought to a vote on this legislation on Monday before the party meeting on Tuesday morning?
Well, I suppose it's possible. That's up to the senators.
Wasn't part of your design?
No, we had a party meeting on Wednesday where there was a spill motion moved, which was defeated. So there was an attempt by Senator Minchin and his supporters to overturn the leadership of the Liberal Party on Wednesday, 2 days ago, and that was unsuccessful. And so, of course, within less than 48 hours, they're moving to have another meeting. So the meeting will be on Tuesday, which is when all of our members can be there. A lot of them couldn't be there on Monday morning at 9 o'clock.
But it would be quite critical, wouldn't it, if the vote was actually called on in the Senate on the Monday before the party meeting on Tuesday, given that that is what this meeting is all about, trying to organise the deferral of the legislation.
Well, we had a party meeting this week on Tuesday, which agreed with the Shadow Cabinet's recommendations, Shadow Cabinet's recommendation to agree amendments with the government. As you know, the history of this was, back in October, the party room overwhelmingly endorsed us taking a set of amendments to the government, to their emissions trading scheme. There were 5 weeks of negotiation between Mr McFarlane and Senator Wong. The government came back with an offer which made very, very substantial concessions which save tens of thousands of jobs, which make the scheme more environmentally effective and achieve a great many of our objectives. That went to the party room endorsed it. Some people were unhappy with it.
This is the big dispute, and you heard Senator Minchin tonight say there was a clear majority. There was a clear majority not to embrace this legislation now.
Well, that is clearly untrue. There was a clear majority in favour of the Liberal Party members and a slender majority of the coalition party room, including the Nationals, in favour of the Shadow Cabinet's recommendation. But it was, in effect, Kerry, put to the test the following day, because there was a challenge to my leadership and it was defeated 48-35 in the Liberal Party room. And that was, as a lot of people said, that was about roughly, within give or take the fact that some people were absent, was about where the numbers were in terms of the Liberal Party room the previous day.
This is clearly a deep split in the Liberal Party. You say that your party is at a turning point in its history. That suggests that this goes well beyond just one policy issue, albeit an important one.
Well, it's a very important policy issue. I mean, we are expected, the Australian people expect us as political leaders, as an opposition, just as they expected us in government, to protect the future of our planet, the future for our children, the environment they're going to grow up in. And they expect us to take action on climate change. And when we were in government, when John Howard was Prime Minister, he committed us to an emissions trading scheme, which, as he said, is very similar to the one Kevin Rudd has presented. We started legislating for it. It is, in fact, never been changed as our policy. Now,
but Mick Minchin would say that that was defined and the decision taken by Cabinet in the context that it would depend on what other countries did as well.
Well, that is also...
Not Australia in isolation.
I didn't hear him say that, but that is not true.
He didn't say it in this year, yes.
That is not true. If you look at the policy, we committed to setting up an emissions trading scheme in advance of a global agreement to cut emissions, and the aim was to establish an emissions trading scheme, start to reduce emissions, and then, as a global agreement developed, to increase the cuts in emissions. So, if you like, our policy, and I think the Rudd government's policy is similar in its objective, was to have an emissions trading scheme which was designed to operate in advance of, but in order to promote, a global agreement. And that's the Shergold report and the policy documents surrounding it from our time are public documents. So what I've said to you is quite correct.
Do you believe that your opponents in the party room are really about deferral, or are they about knocking this on the head?
The Senator Minchin has gone on the public record saying that he does not believe that climate change is occurring. He does not believe humans have got anything to do with it. He's described the emissions trading scheme as an abomination. There is the reality is that there are a number of people and in our party room, and I respect their views, Kerry. I respect their views, who genuinely and honestly say they do not believe climate change is an issue, they don't accept the science, and they don't think we need to do anything about it.
But do you believe what they say when they say to you and to the public that this is not about opposing action on climate change, it is simply about deferring this package until it can be properly considered?
Kerry, we've been looking at this emissions trading scheme issue for years and years. It has been to many inquiries and many committees. And there is an issue of integrity here. Let's be quite clear about this. With the overwhelming support of the party room, and there's no question about that, we sent Ian Macfarlane off with a set of amendments, a log of claims, if you like, to the government. And the basis, they were good faith negotiations. The government came back, made substantial concessions, which we then agreed to accept. And so there was an agreement, a bipartisan agreement. Australians expect us, as parliamentarians, not to play political games, not to run ideological battles, but to work together in the interests of our children and their children. And that's what we sought to do. We sought to reach agreement so we could protect tens of thousands of jobs and make the scheme more environmentally effective.
There is anecdotal evidence. We, like other journalists on this program, we're talking with your colleagues, a lot of your colleagues all the time on both sides. There is a lot of talk that the numbers are flowing away from you, that even a number of your own supporters are coming to you and saying you should stand down. How many of your erstwhile supporters are saying, Malcolm, you should stand down?
Well, nobody has told me to stand down. Literally nobody. And I've seen some reports in the press to that effect, and they're not correct.
Julie Bishop, your deputy leader, has she asked you to stand down?
Absolutely not. And Julie, in fact, corrected that report today. She certainly has not done that. But let me just say this, Kerry. Just bear this in mind. We had a vote on the leadership 2 days ago, on Wednesday. And my leadership was confirmed. And within 24, 36 hours of that vote, the people who had been unsuccessful in overturning my leadership set out to have another go at it. They were not prepared to accept the decision of the party room.
But they're saying that they were responding in part, and a number of others said that they have had a shower, an avalanche of messages, angry messages from the core base of your party saying, I'll never vote for you again if this goes through, hate this deal, you mustn't do this.
Well, Kerry, the reality is the overwhelming majority of Australians want Australia to take action on climate change. Now, the fact is we have an opportunity to do that here. This is a policy which in general principles, in the sense of it's a cap and trade emissions trading scheme to put a price on carbon and over time reduce emissions, that policy was our policy when we were in government. I mean, John Howard himself has said Rudd's scheme is very similar to his.
Do you believe there's anecdotal evidence that there is a sizable part of the Liberal Party base that is very angry for you for, it seems, getting into bed with the government?
Look, I think there are more, there are probably more climate change sceptics and people who do not want to take action on climate change among some of our base than others, but than in the community generally. But you have to remember, to be an effective and successful political party, you have to get 50% plus one, right? So of the whole community. Now, I'll just give you one
very briefly
one measure. I mean, since the press conference last night, I had 850 emails into my own email, my public email address. 750 were in favour of what I had said, the policy I was taking. 100 were against. Now, again, that's a straw in the wind. But I'm just saying, I just mention that because, you can get different levels of support via email and correspondence, and really you have to gauge the community mood more objectively.
Is there any chance at all that you will not contest the leadership on Tuesday if the evidence becomes clear to you from your own supporters that you have lost the race?
Kerry, there is no question that I will be standing. If there's a spill, they will, that motion will be put. There is no way I'm stepping down, resigning, stepping backwards, or anything like that.
Joe Hockey, do you believe that he will stand behind you on Tuesday?
In
support of you?
He has always said he will, and I believe he will.
Will he have a right to stand if he so chooses?
Well, Kerry, you know, and this is a silly
I'm talking
line
in
of
your.
questioning.
I'm talking in terms
but
your
the
terms.
reality is everybody is entitled to stand. But the leadership of the Liberal Party is in the gift of the Liberal Party. And I might say there are some people who, you know, perhaps Senator Minchin, who would like to spook me out into stepping down. I won't. The fact is the Liberal Party has elected me leader. My leadership was confirmed again on Wednesday.
But what is the basis for your confidence? What is the basis for your confidence that you will win again on Tuesday, that your support is holding, that it is not beginning to slide away?
Well, Kerry, it's interesting that you say that. You'd think that somebody that had won a leadership ballot 48 hours previously would have every reason to be confident. I believe that I will be retained or, you know, endorsed as leader, but it's up to the party room. And it's
and you've
very
done
important.
No count
it's
of
very,
people counting
Kerry,
on your behalf?
It is very important. This is not, can I tell you, you guys in the press, you get very interested in the numbers and all the games and everything. This is about the future of the planet. It's about our children's future. It's about whether we are taking our commitment to protect the environment seriously or not. Now, I believe we must take effective action to combat climate change. There are people in my party who do not believe we should do so. I respect their views, but I disagree with them. And I just say to all of those sceptics and people who think climate change is bunkum, who are watching us tonight, I say to them, through you, Kerry, that they should bear in mind what Margaret Thatcher said back in 1990.
You've used
this is a risk management exercise. If you think there is a chance that your scepticism may be misplaced, if you think there's a chance that climate change is occurring and humans are causing it, then should we not take precautions and, as Rupert Murdoch famously said, give the planet the benefit of the doubt? And that's what we must do.
Very quickly, have you spoken with John Howard about this predicament, and do you have his support?
I speak to John Howard regularly, and he always supports the leader of the Liberal Party.
Malcolm Turnbull, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Kerry.